All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stemmy Conversations podcast, where we'll talk about all things STEM and ICT. I'm your host, Kenita Roberts, and alongside me, I have my co-host, Bradley Downer. All
Yeah.
right, today I'd like to welcome a today I'd like to welcome a special guest, Dr. Arthur Antoine. Dr. Arthur has over 20 years of experience as a civil engineer and project manager in construction. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering from the University of West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago, and a Master's of Science degree in ocean engineering from Texas A&M University, College Station, TX. And he completed a PhD in civil engineering at the University of Colorado, Boulder. Dr. Antoine has worked for multinational engineering consultants, managing projects from inception to closeout, and has a global perspective through his involvement in infrastructure development projects in the Caribbean and the US. He currently serves as a senior project manager with Mott MacDonald, a global management engineering and development consultancy. He is a strong proponent of STEM education, particularly for underrepresented minorities and new Americans. In this regard, he selflessly volunteers his time as a mentor and academic or career coach for individuals seeking to be professionals in the construction and engineering industry. Welcome, Dr. Arthur, to STEMmy Conversations. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. And thanks again for the invitation, Kenita and Bradley.
No problem at all. I understand you have a presentation you'd like to share.
Yes, let me cue that up and
Yes, so I will stop sharing.
let me know when you enable screen sharing.
Okay, that would be my cue. Just a second. Is it working as yet?
Yes, I can share now. So I'm going straight to it and let me know. I'm going to go to presentation mode. Is it loaded for everybody?
Not as yet.
I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah.
Okay, it's up.
Okay, great. And thanks for that introduction. I'll save some bandwidth. I'll pause the video while I present. But yeah, again, very similar presentation or the same presentation I did for the CARICOM Girls STEM event where I met Kenita and Bradley and learned about Stemmy, your program Stemmy. I love the name STEM and me, and was obliged to please to do a similar presentation and speak a bit about my career trajectory to you and your audience. So the agenda is a very brief presentation. I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'll speak STEM, or they've added the A there for the arts now. So STEAM. I'll speak to the power of STEAM. Speak to possible career paths and non-traditional career paths and challenges that you may face or one may face if they're interested in pursuing a career in STEM. So how did I get from St. Lucia to the wintry US? I started off my engineering journey at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago. Can get my spiel. So from the time I graduated there, and even before I graduated, I volunteered with the British consultants called Halco. So when I graduated, it was an easy transition to work full time for them, and did that for about 5 years. It was a great experience. Being a young engineer in the regional office that was based in St. Lucia, my home country, and doing work throughout the Caribbean, infrastructure development, so roads, um, excuse me, roads, bridges, treatment bank funded or World Bank funded projects, for example. And then I did my master's at Texas A&M. Everything that has to do with the ocean fascinates me. So I was fascinated by coastal engineering, although I did not get work in that industry, or I did not get work in the US after that master's. So I went back to Halco in the Caribbean, went through an acquisition where we became CH2M, which is now Jacobs. But did a short stint there and then left to work for the Caribbean Development Bank's natural disaster management project in St. Vincent. It was my first taste at managing a portfolio of projects, both the consulting side and the self-performing contractors on all disaster mitigation projects there. And after that, I got to Colorado, where I did my PhD in civil engineering, and I focused on construction engineering and management, and particularly procurement and types of project delivery methods or types of contracts. Then I worked for a transportation and aviation consulting firm, small firm called Shrewsbury and Associates. And more recently, I moved to Mott McDonald. So that was my trajectory in STEM. What started it all off for me was my interest in, I think very early on, high school, community college days, still not sure on what career path or occupation I specifically wanted to do. I just know I didn't want to do something where I would be like stuck in an office for 40 hours per week. So that's what I love about the civil engineering track that I followed. It really gave me a mix of, I mean, you have your desk time, your office work, but give me a mix of that and getting out there and about almost internationally and seeing projects and seeing different types of projects and projects of different scales. So this is a video just to give a glimpse of the plethora of types of engineering disciplines that are out there, and I'll let it run.
The field of engineering has a huge influence on how we live our lives. Pretty much everything around us has been engineered in some way, from the infrastructure that keeps countries running, roads, water, energy, to the buildings we live in, to the things we use every day, our devices, books, even the clothes on our backs. This map of engineering is my attempt to capture all of those different areas of engineering and try and put them all in one place so that we can get our heads around it all. And like all of my maps, you can buy it as a poster from dosmaps.com, as well as our Professor Astrocat books. We'll start with civil engineering, which I like to think of as the engineering of big stuff that doesn't move. Civil engineering encompasses large public works like bridges, tunnels, dams, roads, airports, railways, and pipelines for things like water supply and water treatment, as well as a whole host of other infrastructure that helps our countries and economies tick along. Generally, they're built to stay in place and last a long time. Civil engineering was called civil engineering in the past to distinguish it from military engineering, which are both the oldest branches of engineering. Early examples of civil engineering projects were related to farming and the control of water sources, but also building settlements, towns, cities, and large vanity projects like the Great Pyramids at Giza. Coming back to today, arguably the largest collective engineering projects are our cities, which involve surveying to measure and assess the land on which buildings are built, architectural engineering, which deals with the design of buildings, including the planning for their construction and operation when inhabited. Structural engineering ensures that buildings are safe and are strong under their own weight and can withstand environmental effects like earthquakes or extreme weather events. Structural engineering doesn't just apply to buildings, but any structures humans build. For example, it's a key part of building dams to withstand the large pressure of water behind them. Most civil engineering projects need large amounts of surface materials like soil or rock to be moved, and this processing is called earthworks. And geological engineering applies geological science to support other engineering projects, assessing the geological suitability for large projects, things like dams or mining sites, amongst others. And understanding corrosion and the breakdown of materials over time is really important to make sure that systems are maintained and don't have catastrophic failures. This is a good time to point out that engineering by its very nature is largely cross-disciplinary, where just about everything on this map will also involve many other areas of this map. For example, the planning of building a building falls under the remit of architectural engineering, but it will also draw on structural engineering for the physical integrity of the building, which also draws on materials engineering for the properties of the materials the building will be built from, which in turn these materials will have been developed using techniques from chemical engineering. Then the systems inside a building will draw on mechanical engineering for air conditioning and elevators, and electrical engineering for lights and power, and computer engineering to control everything and for security. So even though we're a giant mess. Okay, back to civil engineering.
Okay, that's the end of the video. Still there, Kenita and Bradley?
Yes, we're still here.
That's right here. We're here.
All right, awesome. Thanks for checking in. Well, I love that video because it really gives it's like it shared just the tip of the iceberg of all the possible disciplines of engineering that are out there that somebody could choose as a career path to specialize in. For me, I started off with civil engineering, and the more I got into it, the more I loved it. And regardless of whichever engineering discipline that someone may be interested in, I highly recommend pursuing a full-fledged degree, a STEM degree, or I should say STEAM degree, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics related degree at some tertiary level institution. But regardless, that may not be for everybody, and there are other pathways into STEM. Consider cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary degrees that could say bridge STEM with other fields, such as healthcare, arts, environmental sciences, or even social sciences and or business. Another way to engage in STEM, boost your awareness in STEM and network, build your network in STEM is by following podcasts like these, like Stemmy, joining events like these in your home region or home territory. There's STEM competitions out there, physically and virtually online, that one could partake in and seek out these STEM clubs. The logo there is the National Society of Black Engineers, on the executive for the Denver Professionals Chapter, former vice president, and a real advocate of what they do and the mission they promote to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers beyond nationwide USA, because they're a global institution as well. So maybe seek out, I don't know if Guyana, I know Jamaica has an SB chapter, I'm not sure for Guyana or other Caribbean territories. So seeking out internships and even volunteering to show your interest and passion in STEM. I mentioned that I started off, or when I finished my degree, my first degree, my bachelor's, I went full-time right away, not even applying for any other jobs anywhere else. I went full-time right away to, something happened there. Am I still on screen? No?
You're still on, but it's a bit pixelated. I'm not sure what you're experiencing on your end.
Oh, the presentation went down when I put it back on screen. So apologies.
Yes, it's up. It's up better now.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, moving on. I was given the story that I got into my first job as a civil engineer on the basis that I volunteered. Every summer I left Trinidad and went back home to St. Lucia. Great recommendation on my mother at that time. I volunteered to work for that English civil engineering consulting company. So it was a great way to get onboarded. And even though I volunteered my time, I had a great boss at the time, and he always compensated me, give me something, some sort of financial compensation that when summer was over and I was going back to school, I had something in my pockets. But it was a great way to learn the company culture, learn what they actually do in industry, and transitioning into a full-time role later on. So I also highly advocate for connecting with professionals in STEM fields. There's institutions throughout the Caribbean or associations of professional engineers for every territory in the Caribbean. From Belize, I have the St. Lucian logo up there. I know there's likely one in Guyana. And in addition, there's our Regional Council of Caribbean Engineering Organizations. So there are organizations that people, kids or parents interested in STEM could reach out to and maybe seek some sort of mentorship or guidance on how to engage in STEM and career pathways in STEM. And of course, those interested in tech and coding, there's a plethora of online options, courses, programs that one could tap into. Now, I mentioned the more traditional paths, and they are non-traditional career paths that may be more accessible for some people interested in STEM. So community college programs are definitely a great stepping stone to get into STEM, get some sort of associate's degree maybe in STEM, and then move forward from there. Technical and vocational schools, you could never rule out the trades and the crafts. Skills are indispensable in STEM, and at least in my world of construction and engineering projects. And there's numerous industry certifications out there you could get. Let's say you even in some career pathway already and want to bridge or transition into STEM, you could, for example, get some sort of project management certification or construction management certification from some industry body, significant industry body, and transition into the STEM field. And when it comes to overcoming challenges, I really feel that it takes the onus is on us as individuals to build our interpersonal skills, to build that emotional intelligence, as they say. Because regardless of which type of engineer you are, at the end of the day, we all dealing with humans. And there's numerous trainings and workshops and other stuff out there that one could do some introspection on and see where you may need some learning or what may be lacking and get some training on. But the benefits of boosting these call it soft skills is a general self-awareness of who you are, maybe what triggers you, improves communication overall in any relationship at work or at home. Conflict resolution is definitely a great enhancement. Team building skills, and for those who are interested on a leadership role or those interested in getting on a track to a leadership role, it's indispensable in your leadership development. And for example, there's free and/or paid online personality or psychological assessment tools out there online. I listed a few on screen, but in a recent training, the DISC assessment. I remember doing it. I've done it a few times before, but it's been a while. And probably like last month, in whichever training session, they had us do a free DISC assessment. And the results the results could be dynamic. They could change over time for any individual. So when I was thinking I was more on the yellow and green side, people oriented and all that, my results at that time were on the red and a mix of the red and blue side, more task oriented with descriptions such as detail oriented, analytical, results oriented, etc. So doing that sort of introspection every now and then could help us collaborate better with our teams, peers, subordinates, and superiors. And to further incentivize, call it the youth or further incentivize interest in STEM, I had to get the numbers on screen. And I mean, it's clear that with or without a degree, what the chart is showing, that is the STEM related fields get paid more than non-STEM related fields or jobs. So something to think about there. With that, I'll end the presentation. I'll come back on screen. Thank you. And feel free to take up the screen, Kenita.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Arthur, for your presentation. That emotional intelligence disc that you spoke about, I definitely need to do it. I never did it before, and it seemed interesting to see where I fall. Like how you said, you thought you were one way, but that assessment revealed that you're some other way. It would be very interesting for me
Right.
to understand that. Well, as you know, I am doing project management, um, which is similar to, not specific to construction, but my field, I would say it's general based on the degree. Um, so I'm happy that, we would have connected and, I can always come to you if I need any assistance. My first question that I want you to tell us before we go into anything else, and this is like a little conclusion to your presentation, is what advice would you give, young persons who want to pursue
Pursue a
your field
STEM
of
field
study?
or specific civil,
Pursue civil
civil
engineering.
engineering?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Wait, wait a second,
I
Dr.
yeah, well,
Arthur.
first and foremost, I say to many people, feel free to consider me a resource. I'm easy to get to. I think LinkedIn, my name is the easiest routes, types of conversations okay through the grade 12. I mean, when I say it like that, I mean like from high school level, collegiate level, etc. But for civil engineering specifically, again, I'll start off with getting a degree. Hands down, you want to be a civil
Okay.
engineer and you're going to be a professional engineer, you're going to need a degree and to build your career from there. So your path
Okay.
to that degree might be different for everybody. Community college, etc. Some might jump into a full degree program full time. Some may be working part time and doing a program part time, but persevere to get that degree done, and then a lot of doors will open from there.
Okay. I noted in a lot of our interviews, persons or professionals, they generally stress, networking and, connecting with people. So I'm happy that you were able to highlight that. I want to respond to a question or maybe a comment that you made in the presentation. You were saying that you weren't sure if Guyana had much STEM related avenues. And we actually do have one that I'm affiliated with, which is Bradley. Also, that's where I met Bradley, which is STEM Guyana. And they focus a lot on STEM education, which is the hardcore science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They do this in like something called learning pods, and they have coaches who would teach the children those subjects, and they also have a component of robotics, and then they have scratch and all those nice activities for children to do after school. So we do have those facilities here, and there are other few small groups, but STEM Guyana is the one that I outright know about because I, of course, was a part
Yeah.
of that initiative. So
I
yes.
want to say before you go on, I want to say yeah, that's commendable. I'm not surprised that they exist. But what I was trying to say through the presentation was specifically that organization, NESB. I'm not sure if they have a presence in Ghana or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, understand. Bradley, do you have any questions?
My question would be why you chose a career in civil engineering. I'm not sure if I missed that when you did the presentation, but that was my question.
Yeah, I could reiterate. Again, for me, it was the fact that it was the engineering or the type of engineering tied most closely to what I was familiar with, construction. So one of my uncle, he used to make cement blocks or cement bricks. And I'll spend a lot of my time with, he was a mechanic, he was a body shop man, his whole yard was call it industrial. But from spending summers there, doing the summertime jobs with him, watching how he made the bricks, watching how he used to hire guys to make it manually, into buying and ordering his fancy machines to make it use the equipment to reduce the labor, and have his trucks to transport that around. Even just riding the truck, for me as a young boy in through St. Lucia, different places, different construction sites, I got exposed to that world. And then when I figured out what civil engineering was later on, how involved they were in designing and planning and managing even the construction. I mean, even seeing from that young, going to the sites and seeing who's in charge on the sites, a civil engineer, it appealed to me. It was familiarity. So again, I think exposure to STEM, this type of stuff you guys are doing, Stemmy and STEM Guyana, etc., is so necessary. It might look insignificant, or some people might take it for granted, but that exposure, also for the youth, is invaluable. I don't know if I'd choose civil if I had something like STEM Guyana influencing me and I knew other types of, or if I was exposed to more engineering disciplines, if civil would have still been what I chose.
Okay, thank you for that response. My other question would be, how would you know you're successful in engineering? Is it money? Is it helping people? How would you know you're successful?
You said that a bit fast. Say that question again, please.
How would you know if you're a successful engineer?
If you're a successful engineer?
Correct.
I think that's a personal decision. Everybody motivated by different goals. It could be money, it could be career development, it could be leadership. Some people might be content with just getting a degree and not even using it and doing something else to make money. So I think that's hard to answer. I could answer speaking for myself. Success to me was, for one, getting the degree and the necessity of getting the job, and every step after that in terms of getting the degree and getting the job to start helping to take care of family bills, including the huge student loan I had.
All right, thank you for that response. Back to you, Kenito.
Yes, I actually had a similar something on a similar question on the same success. So I see you as, very successful. So my question would be like, what is your next step? What do you see yourself getting into, in the future? Probably, I don't know, 10 years from now, like where do you go?
You'll put me on the spot with that one. Thanks. It's flattering, and then maybe it's my drive. Maybe that's what drives me. Sometimes I feel like not taking for granted what I've accomplished, and trying to help people along the way, whichever step along the way they are. Because I mean, I'm even helping senior guys, senior to me, when I used to tell new Americans, for example, there's an influx of Afghans. There's one gentleman, probably in his late 50s already, Venezuelan, has done consulting work for NASA from outside the US, was a professor and all that. And he's here now, legal to work. And I feel like it's just, I mean, he definitely knows the technicality of this industry. He's not a civil engineer. It's a impressive resume. And maybe it's a cultural integration or whatever other type of integration help people like that need. But he's here right now with all that experience, and he can't get nothing but a laborer job. But all that aside, next step for me, I think, is a mix of continuing to be a mentor and an advocate for people interested in STEM, specifically the world I've navigated as a civil engineer, construction and engineering, and continuing to develop my career. So working with Mott McDonald now is a fresh transition. I worked on water projects before, but after 5 years of transportation, working on transportation and aviation projects, I should say, is a fresh transition now. I'm learning so many new things, doing big and small water projects in a new jurisdiction, learning the environmental rules and who's the regulatory agencies I gotta follow. And I feel all that is part of my um, growth really. I love that kind of transition and new challenge to learn something new and move on from there. Next 10 years, hopefully I'll be back in program management again, or another level of program managing another portfolio of some type of projects.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for visiting STEMI Conversations. Thank you for your contributions to our podcast. We're always lucky to have, lucky and blessed to have professionals like you who come to, share your point of view and share a bit of advice on how your journey was to our viewers. And I hope that our viewers would have learned a lot and they take your advice, they take your journey, and they're inspired by everything that you would have mentioned and had to go through to make your career a success. So thank you once again for being here, and we greatly appreciate your presence.
Thanks to you both for the invitation, and good luck to your audience.
Yes, I'm going to stop recording.